Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's part 2 of our Getting Over podcast, WrestleMania. That's right, WrestleMania is 2 nights, and we're doing 2 podcasts, and this is the second one. As mentioned in the podcasts, there is a subscription drive, and what we're looking for is lovely subscribers, and if you win, you get a Funko Pop. All the details are in the podcasts. Check out part 1 if you haven't. There's more details there, but there's still details in this one. So get clicking that subscribe button if you haven't, and be in with a chance to win. Right, let's get cracking. So here we go. This is Getting Over, CookieCast, WrestleMania, part 2.
Recording in progress.
Got you.
Hello. Welcome to part 2 of this month's double header talking all things WWE in the lead up to WrestleMania 38 this weekend. I gave the boys a big build up on episode 1 of this particular double header. So I mean I'm not going to blow too much smoke, but Andy is here once again.
Hello.
Matthew is here once again.
Hi.
And Paul is back with us once again. The full squad is in tow, ladies and gents. And back in part 1, we discussed night 1. Funny that, isn't it? So you've guessed it. Right now, we are here to talk night 2. If you have missed night 1, what do you think you're playing at? Get yourself back, because not only did you miss all the news that we went through, the predictions that we made, but you've also missed the launch of our Funko giveaway. So do yourself a favour, hit pause now, go check out part 1, and then come straight back here. Done that? Good. We thank you for it. And we will also thank you for clicking that subscribe button to not only get a direct link to all the good stuff that CookieCast offers, but to get yourself in the draw for that Alexa Bliss Funko once we get to 100 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, given by now, blatantly going to recap that again at the end of the podcast for you. So, straight in to night 2. Oddly enough, they've decided not to move stadiums because, you know, it's not WrestleMania 3. So here we go again in the home of the Dallas Cowboys. As always, the match card for night 2 is correct at time of recording and taken from WWE.com. And without further ado, here are your 7 matches currently scheduled for night 2 of the most stupendous WrestleMania in history, apparently. I can't believe we've got to this point and not even mentioned the tagline as it was. So yeah, the matches on the card for night 2. Bobby Lashley versus Omos. The women's tag team titles are on the line, with Zelina Vega and Carmella defending against Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, Natalya and Shayna Baszler, and Sasha Banks and Naomi. Austin Theory takes on Pat McAfee in what will clearly be Andy's favourite match on this particular card. Sami Zayn taking on Johnny Knoxville in a Anything Goes match, which I'm pretty sure is just a no disqualification match in a normal build-up. Anyway, the Raw Tag Team titles are on the line as RK Bro defend against the Street Profits and the Alpha Academy in a tag team triple threat match. AJ Styles looks to take on Edge, and we do have the somewhat important matter of the WWE and Universal Championship unification match between Brock Lesnar, the current WWE Champion, and Roman Reigns, the current Universal Champion. So, wind it back. Let's get into Bobby Lashley versus Omos. So Omos has been pushed to the absolute moon recently, flattening anyone in his way. On Raw this past week, he defeated the Viking Raiders in a handicap match. I know it was by count out as well, but what a way to bury a good team. But he also holds victories over the Hurt Business, T-Bar, Commander Aziz and Apollo Crews. So yeah, pretty much everyone. Up until Raw this past week, he hadn't even been knocked off his feet. Cue Bobby Lashley, making his triumphant return from concussion protocols to step up to the Giant on Raw. And essentially, it's just big lads wrestling. Hopefully, we shall actually get to see. But will Lashley hand Omos's first singles loss, or will the Giant remain undefeated? Matt, do you want to kick us off this one?
Yeah, Omos. You can't build somebody like this, and then I think it'll be Bobby Lashley's going to do the legwork to make him look really good, but I think ultimately it's going to be that build. Keep on building him for another year, I would have thought.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. They've brought back the right guy to make him look an absolute $1,000,000 because we all know Lashley can go, so I could not have said that any better. Omos for me as well. Andy?
I see what you're saying, and I like what you're saying, and I'm with you, but it's Bobby Lashley.
I did say Andy then, didn't I? Not Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Yeah. Part 1 listeners will know exactly what I'm talking about there.
Yeah.
So Lashley is in the book for you, Mr. Cook. And
thank you.
To round out the first one, Paul?
I reckon this could be the first and possibly only shady finish that we get at the pay-per-view. Because I agree with you don't want to beat Omos, but I also don't think they want to do too much damage to Lashley. So I'm trying to work out a way they can sort of have Omos win, but not have Lashley lose. So
okay,
work that one out how you will.
I heard Omos win, so that's what's going in the book.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a disqualification or Lashley counted out or something like that. I don't think he'll get in.
I wonder if MVP will come and screw him over, because probably Omos needs a mouthpiece of MVP's kind of thing. So
that's a pretty good idea, because from the pop he got on Monday, Lashley as a babyface is looking like a very real possibility for me.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So definitely not going to happen. I do like that idea though. I hadn't even considered that, but that is a fair crack. Right then, swiftly moving on, we have the women's tag team title match. So yeah, Queen Zelina Vega and Carmella, the defending champions, going up against Sasha Banks and Naomi, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, and Natalya and Shayna Baszler. This match is entirely made up of single stars in an effort to get them on the WrestleMania card. Am I wrong? No.
Nope.
3 of these teams have been thrown together in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, and even the champions themselves haven't really been teaming all that long. Don't get me wrong, I am happy that they're all on the card. Each one is talented and definitely deserves a spot, but the purist in me just can't help but feel that this completely devalues the tag team titles, like meaning, and if they're not a tag team, then why are they even bothered about the belts? Is my thing. But regardless of how I may feel, we must have a winner. So who would like to take the first pick at this one?
Never die.
I've been called worse.
This is literally just, they have literally just gone, right, how many women have we got in the area that haven't got a match? Right, I'll write down the names, and the first 2 that I pull out could be in a tag team. Then the next 2, the next tag team, and so on and so forth. This is literally one of those ones where I could see any of the 4 teams coming out winning it, and I don't really care which.
Okay.
So let's go with Sasha Banks and Naomi to give Sasha Banks a win that she hasn't had for a while. I don't think she's ever won at WrestleMania.
Okay.
I'm absolutely with Paul on that for everything, including the prediction. As I mentioned before, like for doing research for this, everything I read gave a different outcome. Like every single thing was like, oh, this match is absolutely pointless, but our prediction is this. And it's like, okay, right. And then the next one was like, don't know why they're doing this, don't know how they've got here, but our prediction is this. And it would be different. And every single thing I read gave a different prediction. So it's like, it is literally close your eyes, throw a dart at something, and whatever it hits, they're your winners.
It's the only good thing about this match is it could purposely invent the four-sided coin, because that's the only way that you're going to decide the winner. Matt?
I mean, it's got pre-show written all over it. And I've gone Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. Mainly because Rhea Ripley looks jacked.
That, ladies and gentlemen, does give us a 50-50 split, because I have also gone for Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Not just because Rhea looks absolutely jacked to the gills at the moment, but I think them two actually would work as a tag team together, probably more so than the current champions. So I'm pinning my last hopes on them actually making some kind of sense in that division and giving them two the titles. So, moving on, we have Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee. These two guys are on an absolute roll at the moment, both seemingly handpicked by Vince McMahon to play prominent roles in their respective fields going into the future, I think, of WWE. Theory obviously been anointed the new chosen one, almost in a sort of Drew McIntyre a la 2000 odd kind of role in the wrestling side of things, and McAfee just going from strength to strength behind the commentary desk. So why then does Pat get to lace up the boots at Mania? Some of you will remember that he earned a few wrestling stripes, if you like, back in NXT. A very entertaining feud with Adam Cole. War Games, I believe, was thrown in there as well. So he's not entirely new to competing. And Vince McMahon was a guest on the Pat McAfee show recently, which was actually Vince's first live interview in 15 years. Vince not only let slip in an exclusive that he would be the man to induct Taker into the Hall of Fame, but then he also personally offered McAfee a spot on the WrestleMania card, which, I mean, who's going to say no to that, really? Let's be fair. So, I guess it could be build the battle of the protégés, I guess, in one regard, but who wins? Andy?
I've got to admit on this one, I might be going a little bit heart over head on this one. I quite like Pat McAfee. I've seen podcast stuff, interviews, obviously from his days kicking footballs and stuff. I quite like him, and I for that reason I think is why I've actually picked him to win this one. That might not be the smart move. Like I say, I might have gone a little heart over head on this one, but yeah, I've gone with Pat.
Okay.
Go on. I was going to say, if Paul doesn't mind, I'm going to jump in there and say I agree with Andy. I think there's going to be some kind of shenanigans going on. Probably Vince coming out to the ring to get a bit of a pop, and then probably screwing over Austin Theory to give Pat McAfee the win.
Okay, you are in the book, Mr. Moore. Paul?
See, I think it'll be the opposite of that. I reckon that Vince will get involved in some sort of shape or form, but it'll be to cost McAfee the match. And then obviously that opens up the possibility for you having the sort of the interaction between them two, and it could lead to McAfee becoming more of an in-ring competitor than being a commentator. Something weird in the back of my head makes me think that they're going to try and do something where it's McAfee versus Corey Graves at some point, because obviously Graves has been cleared to start competing again, and obviously they're sort of each other's equal or each other's counterpart on the two shows. So something just tells me that's going to happen at some point in the future. But yeah, I think Austin Theory will get the win at this one.
I am going to make up the 50-50 split once again, and also have gone for Austin Theory. I very much liked what you were saying, Paul. I hadn't thought about the Corey Graves thing. Although I think you've just booked one of the matches for Survivor Series now for the whole bragging rights issue. Especially seeing as NXT will probably be left out once again. Sorry, NXT 2.0, of course. I believe Austin Theory, obviously he made his main roster debut back in the pandemic kind of times and then got sent back to NXT for a bit with his time with Johnny Gargano and what have you. But I guess technically it's maybe not his first WrestleMania, but it's his first WrestleMania in front of fans, and as he's the guy that's essentially going to sort of, carry the torch, I guess, in the years to come. I can't see them pinning a loss on him now because it doesn't read well for the statistics in time, I would suggest. McAfee, I think, will be a commentator for a very long time, as long as he doesn't, wear shorts this year.
I think when it comes to McAfee, he comes across as like, this is so weird, because when he first came in, I was convinced I was going to absolutely hate him, because he just came across as an absolute prick. But he's grown into it, and he comes across as the sort of guy who, if he has 10 matches between now and then when his contract expires or whatever, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he lost every single one of them, and it wouldn't come across like that. If anything, it'd be that he pushed for that, because he just strikes me as the sort of guy he got trained the right way, he does business the right way, and he probably just wants to sort of be in there to sort of advance the storylines rather than get himself over. So I wouldn't be surprised if he loses every match he ever has in the company.
Well, yeah, exactly, because he's in that fortunate position of, like, regardless of what happens with the wrestling side, that bit is just purely for his own enjoyment, because that's not his main bread and butter. So, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it's a 50-50 split for that one. So fingers crossed I'll be piggybacking on some of those Williams points on that one. Right, next on the card we have Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville in an anything goes match. The rivalry here started back in the build to the Royal Rumble, where Johnny Knoxville declared for the match, and Sami Zayn made it his mission to let the Jackass star know that he didn't belong in the ring. I think Andy is also high on that train right now. These guys did cross paths in the Rumble match itself, with Sami Zayn eliminating Knoxville from proceedings. Since then, the two have seemingly tried to kind of out-Jackass each other, if that's a way to describe it. They've been sort of like doing the pranks, like zapping each other with stuff. During the course of that time, Sami Zayn also recaptured the Intercontinental Championship, and then Knoxville cost him that championship 2 weeks later when he lost it to Ricochet. Zayn demanded the match against Knoxville, and here we are. However, there have also been some other entertaining elements to this, despite what Andy might tell you shortly. And one of the funny things was that they had Johnny Knoxville fly Sami Zayn's phone number off the back of a plane over the streets of LA. And I think there was one night where Sami Zayn had put an Instagram post up, and he'd had something like 6,500 text messages or missed calls, and he occasionally answered the odd FaceTime call in the bath. Just like random stuff. Like this is that kind of thing where I don't think Knoxville will have any kind of wrestling element to him at all. Clearly he's there because he can be used as a punch bag and not given absolute monkeys about it. But Sami Zayn has carried this right from the inception. He's taken his chance to be on WrestleMania, I think, and grabbed it with both hands. But I guess after all the games have been played and all the pranks have been pulled, who is going to end up victorious? Andrew?
It's Sami Zayn.
Okay. And that's all we're getting.
I can't, because if I start, then, this will end up being like, a 12-hour podcast of me just talking about how we don't need Johnny Knoxville anywhere near this. So Sami Zayn, please. Thank you.
Okay. Prediction that was quicker than a zap from a cattle prod. Okay, Matt.
Sami Zayn as well. Hold on, Sami Zayn as well. think it just needs to end. It'll end here, and that'll be that. And done.
We can all move on with our lives, because although saying that, by the time that it gets to SummerSlam, then it'll be out. The Jackass Forever will be out on DVD, won't it? So they'll need to bring him back for that then, just for Andy. I'm also going for Sami Zayn. I agree with what Matt just said. It needs to end here. It should end here. Unless they're serious about that Johnny Knoxville for World Champion t-shirt that they brought out for the Royal Rumble. Please, God, no. But yeah, Sami Zayn for me as well. Giving Paul that illustrious opportunity once again. Which way is he going to go, ladies and gentlemen? Paul?
Why do you all think the way you think? I mean, does it not, like, am I the only one who thinks this has just got the cast of Jackass will all turn up, written all over it, and they'll be the reason why Sami Zayn loses?
What?
Yeah, but you've
So-
watched
so-
Jackass. They all
so
get
Bam will
screwed
be
over
there,
all
yeah.
the way through it.
See, I just can't see anything else other than Sami Zayn losing, because that's just what he does. Like, he's like a similar one to like Pat McAfee. Like, I just think he's got it written into his contract that he's just like, yeah, just beat me as much as you want, because it's not going to affect his character or anything like that. So he's just happy to just lose.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, if you don't want that point, then that's your choice. Do you know what? It might happen, and like the whole cast are blatantly going to be there, aren't they? Because they'll either come out with him as like an entourage, or they'll blatantly be positioned somewhere in the front row for that. We'll see. Okay, that gives us 3 matches to go. So we have the Raw Tag Team titles on the line next, with RK Bro defending against the Street Profits and the Alpha Academy. RK Bro for me have been the surprise package of the last year, and it's only right really that they get to perform at WrestleMania together. Who would have thought that Randy Orton would actually use the F word on TV? I mean, I don't mean that F word. I mean friend. He actually has a friend in Riddle. Sorry, nearly got that wrong. Alpha Academy recently dropped tag team titles to RK Bro in an excellent triple threat match on Monday Night Raw. The one that was also involved in Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins that we mentioned earlier. Before their title victory, RK Bro had, though, lost to the Street Profits. So after they became champions, RK Bro had 2 sets of ready-made challenges, and they've actually used logic in the booking. I mean, sound the horn in the background, please, somebody. But I guess the questions will be, will the Profits be up? Or will the Academy top the class? Or will Orton and Riddle continue on their high? Nailed it. What do you guys think?
I've gone Street Profits with this one. I liked the kind of heelish kind of way that they came back. I did not like the mock Chicago Bulls outfits that they wore. That really upset me. Really upset me, because that was a classic Chicago Bulls jersey, like early era Jordan, and then they wore that, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to look at that kit ever again and not hate it, just despise it. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, I've gone Street Profits. I think RK Bro have had it a while. Whether it's, I don't think it's going to be the end of the team possibly, but maybe it's just a swap for a bit.
Okay. Paul?
I don't know with this one, because it's one of those ones where it's been a bit hot potato, hasn't it? Because it's changed 3 or 4 times in the space of about 2 months.
Bingo cards are now completely.
I was about to say, it took us 90 minutes of podcasting, but we finally got that bingo card complete. Hot potato.
We can take the piss, but he's absolutely not wrong when he says it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think everyone's just surprised that Riddle and Orton are still together and that it's not transitioned into a them versus each other at WrestleMania issue. Stick them down to retain.
Okay.
Because I think I've got the other set of tag titles changing hands. So
I'm on the same boat. I think the titles will stay on RK Bro, purely from a business decision. I think Alpha Academy are entertaining. Long term, does anybody really give a stuff about Otis particularly? Special mention for Chad Gable though, because this whole thing of the shoosh and the Master of the 4.0, he's doing it like he's doing the heavy lifting for that team before they've even stepped in the ring. I like the Street Profits as bad guys. That makes sense to me. It's only just happened, so I don't know if that's a little early, and I think that RK Bro will retain it, but Street Profits will be the one team to take it off them. I mean, classic heel move, get yourself a black tracksuit when you used to have a red one. Everybody knows that's the heel move to go down. But whereas we talked about how light the SmackDown division was, the Raw division is definitely better positioned. So if Street Profits take it off RK Bro and RK Bro end up splitting, there are plenty of other teams on Raw that can jump in and fill that gap. So, Andy, that leaves you to round out the tag team title predictions.
RK Bro all the way, baby.
Excellent. Can I just point out that we've had a Randy Orton match that Matt didn't pick him in? That's weird.
If you go back through the archives, he said that particular dalliance was done and dusted with.
I know, but it still feels a bit wrong. Anyway, 2 matches to go. AJ Styles versus Edge. And, lucky what we've got here. The potential for an actual excellent wrestling match in a show full of sports entertainers. Jericho. Edge laid out a Mania challenge. AJ accepted. Simple booking at its best, right? And then Edge went absolutely mega nuts, ballistic and shit, as it were, in his mission to prove why he thinks he's the best in WWE still today, by laying out Styles with a concerto. For me, this has definitely match of the weekend potential. That cannot be unsaid. And the fact that they've positioned it night 2, is it a little indication as to where they go next in terms of number 1 contender? Just my thought, maybe. Who knows? But obviously WWE are going to have to move on to the next stage of the year, possibly by putting the loser of the main event on a little bit of a break, whether it's a month or whatever, just for a bit of a refresh. I mean, it just decides it depends what they decide to do with the main titles anyway, really, I guess. So, gents, your predictions for this one. Andy, do you want to go first on this one?
I do. I've been burnt with a prediction here before. This is one where I've repeatedly gone heart over head, and it's come back to bite me pretty much every time. So this time, I'm using the noodle, and I'm going to go with AJ.
Okay.
Because my heart will always want to pick Edge in pretty much any given situation, unless he's going up against somebody ridiculous. But every time I do it, I get let down. So I've got to go where the money is this time. I'm afraid it's AJ for me.
Okay, Matt.
I mean, this one is like, I really struggled to pick this one because I was like, I'm going to pick this one. Oh, no, now I feel bad that I've picked against that one. I'm like, oh, no, I've picked this one. I've gone with Edge. I think AJ Styles is at that point now. And the problem is they're both at that point now where a loss doesn't really mean that much. But then does the win kind of mean that much? But I think Edge's position now, AJ's obviously just signed that new extension to his contract. So he's got a little while longer left in the company. I sometimes get the feeling that Edge probably doesn't have quite as long left in the company. So if there's going to be a push, it's going to be in the next 6 months. And I'm sure I've said this on previous podcasts, definitely when I've talked about Edge.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's my logic every time I pick Edge, and it comes back to bite me every time.
But this time it is Edge.
Okay, you are in the book. Paul?
I'll go with AJ, just because I think it's been very slanted, Edge heavy in the build, and in a similar vein to what you were saying about the number one contendership moving forward, I think if the main event goes the way we probably all think it is, not to foreshadow, but there's a distinct possibility that one of the shows is going to need a new champion, if that's the way they decide to go. And I think AJ would be one, if not 1A, at the top of that list for that to be the case. So I think this will be the beginning of the build for AJ back into the main title picture.
Okay, you are in the book for that. I have also gone for AJ Styles, and this, again, as we've talked, this is really a coin flip for me. I agree that AJ has longer left, so therefore he has potentially more chance to win. I just find it weird that Edge is the one who laid out the WrestleMania challenge, but now instantly then turned him into the heel in the situation. And then, as Paul said, it's been very Edge heavy since. I don't know. It really is a coin flip. This may work out in your favour, Matt. So I'm also going for AJ Styles. So we have the main event to discuss, the last match on the 2-night card of WrestleMania 38. Does everybody need a little pause just before we do that? Yeah? Hit pause, go and do the subscribey bit, get yourself a drink, and settle in for the main event predictions. We shall be right back.
Recording in progress.
And we are back, suitably refreshed, I hope, everybody. Strap yourselves in. It's main event time. So it is the WWE title and Universal title unification match. Winner take all. WWE Champion versus Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. When WWE need a main event, who are they going to call? That's right, after The Rock says he's busy, it's good old Brock Lesnar. Usually, I'd say that's not great, and he's predictable, blah, 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 blah. You know what? On this run, really enjoyed it. I think it's genuinely been some of Lesnar's best work, possibly more so than any other time in his career. The guy's proved he's got comedic timing. Obviously, he can absolutely go in the ring, and then he can be intense on the microphone when he needs to be. Even if his voice is just a little bit too high for a guy his size, and when he gets a little bit angry. But I'd never say that to his face. So if you're listening to this, Brock, yeah, sorry. To me, he's really shown basically what the higher ups must have seen in him back in the early 2000s. After losing the WWE title at the Rumble, then going on to win the Rumble match itself, Brock put himself straight in line for a showdown with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Then manages to pick the WWE title back up inside the Elimination Chamber and set up this champion versus champion winner-take-all match. And why not? Why would they not have a unification match at the most stupendous WrestleMania in history? The rivalry actually has been quite fun to watch, and they've even kind of had almost some sort of Attitude Era style sort of throwback sort of hijinks going on, bit of car destruction in there for good measure. That was seemingly well done, actually. I enjoyed it when he picked up the Roman's SUV with the forklift, or whatever the hell that thing was. It was huge. But yeah, it's when all those hijinks are said and done, who is going to take home both of the top titles in all of WWE this weekend? I mean, I could jump in first, but I feel like you already know what I'm going to say, so I'm going to test that theory and let other people go first. Who would like to take the first of the final predictions? I can't see who you're pointing at, Paul, because it'll be different on everybody's.
I think he's suggesting it might be me, Stuart.
Of course.
Oh. For a Brock Lesnar match, that's unusual.
Have we had actual confirmation that the Dwayne is not in the vicinity?
I mean, he'll be too busy. Like, I mean, it's Sunday as well. Don't forget, he's got about 6 loaves of French toast to make that are all 3 inches thick per slice, and drinking his tequila that's got more ice in it than actual tequila.
And then he's got to go and put it. Then he's got to go and stick it all in the bin because there's absolutely no way on this earth that he eats or drinks any of those things.
It's alright, because if it's not that, he's just got another car that he just has to give away or something like that. Like, I'm just filling in the bits that Stu missed and stuff like that.
Welcome to the dark side, my friend.
Oh no. These are not the thoughts of Williams Corp in Enterprises and stuff like that.
Also, CookieCast does not condone any. I've really struggled with this one because normally I'd be like, Stu, I'm insulted that you've even attempted to ask me a question about a Brock Lesnar match and think that I'm not picking Brock Lesnar to win. However, the last prediction that I gave for Brock Lesnar to win came back to bite me in the arse severely because I absolutely saw it coming. I knew what was going to happen and I just predicted the wrong way. And then it was like, oh, this is what happened. I was like, yes, I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why. This is a very long-winded way of saying that no matter how much I want to be able to say the words Brock Lesnar to win, I can't. This has been one of those podcasts where, unfortunately, I'm in it for the money this time round, and I'm here for the points. I'm not here for a long time or a good time. I'm here for the points. So it pains me to say, can you please put me down for Roman Reigns?
You are in the book.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, note that down, ladies and gents. Andy picked against Brock Lesnar. Right. Anyone else want to take it off? Is this the point where I feel like we almost need like a moment's silence now that Matt predicted against Randy Orton and Andy's predicted against Brock Lesnar. It's a very sad time. Is this the point where I'm going to jump in and do all the hating that we talked about?
Why not?
Okay. Right. As much as I've enjoyed Brock Lesnar's WWE title run and kind of the whole drop-in, picking it back up that I mentioned, to quote Paul, there is absolutely no way that he leaves WrestleMania with those titles in hand. Roman Reigns has got this all over. I've said it once. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it a little louder for the people in the back. He is not losing that title until he gets a match with The Rock. Has that happened yet? No. So he's not going to lose the title. And when that finally happens and he does lose the title to The Rock, then I'll be even more angry about it than I already am thinking about it now. Possibly even a year away from when it might even happen. So, yeah. I mean, I'd love it if they went an entirely different way and, gave it to somebody who actually deserves it. Or even just left it on Roman Reigns, because I can't say that he doesn't. I've enjoyed the whole bloodline story and all that business. The one thing that I will add is that I do think that in the build-up, I think we're going to get angry Brock for at least a portion of this match, where he does his best to actually bust him open, because he's not necessarily said about winning so much, but he has said on numerous occasions that he's coming for blood. I think that's the way that they'll go. That Roman Reigns will get beaten possibly within an inch of his life, seemingly, and then, as Paul pointed out earlier in these podcasts, eventually it could be a cheeky little roll up. It could even be a quick spear, because it's one of those finishes you can hit on anyone at any time. But yeah, Roman Reigns for me every single day of the week, but particularly on Sunday, it seems. So, Matt.
I don't know. With this one. Because if they're doing going back to one roster with two, one belt, two shows, who's the biggest star?
But who's going to turn up?
But is it he turns up for a bit longer, a month maybe, and then goes, or is it I know, and I mean maybe he probably doesn't care about it, but at what point does the WWE start to care about the fact that his WrestleMania record now is looking pretty poor after it's been loss after loss after loss at WrestleMania recently, and at some point you put in the kind of joke about The Rock and all that kind of thing, but a star that does turn up, maybe not all the time, but does turn up for stints and will probably continue to turn up because he's got no other forms of income, shall we say. At some point they're got to think, well, we're sacrificing him looking like a star to make other people look like stars. So obviously they did it with Seth Rollins, the year when it was like really early on kind of thing, because they just wanted to get the F out of there.
That was 35.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to go with Brock. I'm going to go with Brock. Just as just to kind of add an extra angle, because I know this storyline's been good with Brock and Roman. I'm bored of Roman as the champion. It's kind of quite tedious now. It's been best part of 2 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's the longest reigning Universal Champion at this point as well. So, and again, that adds another sort of feather to your cap, Matt, because we all know what happens when they mention that repetitively on commentary. So you could be onto something. Paul?
Oh, it's coming. It's going to join me.
So, no.
DQ. Nobody wins anything.
Can you imagine that? Oh my god. So, I completely disagree with Matt on this one from a perspective of I'm not bored of him as the champion. I think he's just finding his stride as this this is the character that he probably needed to be way back at WrestleMania 31 or something like that. And I remember at the time, I don't think we were doing the podcast back then, but what in my head I had, because it was Lesnar versus Reigns in the main event of that as well, and in my head the finish that I had was that Reigns won because Heyman turned on Lesnar, and then those two aligned with each other, and you had the sort of the double turn, a bit akin to how it was for Brett and Austin at WrestleMania 13. And I think it's just now that he's become this heel character. He's kind of found his position, and he's found his voice, and all of his promos have been spot on. They've been really, really good. there was that one that he did on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago where he was basically just like talking about the fact that, like, you know, this is his ring, this is his arena, these are his people, blah blah blah, and you could almost sort of feel the emotion coming out of him when he was saying it. That it was like he'd got to the point where he wasn't just saying it because he'd been told to say it. He was saying it because he felt it, and he felt like he actually meant it. And I think he's now got to that point where he believes in himself as the character that he is and the character he's portraying. I don't think he's going to lose. I think he's going to win. You'd presume that because they've advertised it as a title unification match, that are we getting a new belt on Monday?
Well, is it going to be a new belt? Or because, again, they've mentioned a few times the fact that there'll be an undisputed champion, are they going to bring back the old undisputed title?
No. Oh dear. Has he knocked himself out?
Oh, he's gone.
Oh no!
We'll never know.
Oh God! I believe for the people who are still connected, I believe what he was about to do was pan to his right and show us a copy or a version of the old WWE Undisputed title from the early 2000s, where I believe Triple H was the first person to have it, but then got turned into the WWE Championship title. I think they tend to sort of change the belts every sort of 7 years or so, and technically, I'm pretty sure the design they've been using now came out in late 2014, so we're probably due a new version of the title around sort of now. So I reckon that'll happen on the Raw on Monday. I reckon
be it.
Like some sort of presentation ceremony,
an unveiling similar to when they did the Universal one that then got
that got panned, absolutely panned. And then obviously Daniel Bryan was like, "Oh well, maybe we'll just have the Interstellar Championship or blah blah blah."
You forgot the Eco one. You forgot the Eco one.
Oh yeah, that's true. I suppose technically that was the same style, just like a different.
Made out of wood and hemp.
Yeah, it was the eco version of the title.
Still for 300 odd quid.
Oh yeah, it was like the most expensive championship they ever sold. So that. But yeah, obviously we'll have to try and get him back to round out the end of the podcast. But yes, oh, hang on.
I'm not sure what the hell happened there, but if you can see me, I can certainly see you guys.
Your picture is frozen, but your voice is back.
Oh, something's happening.
He's
there
back.
he is. Hey.
May I suggest don't move your computer?
Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. That was really weird. So yeah, apologies for that, technical difficulties and all that. But who knows, maybe that'll happen in the main event of WrestleMania and all the lights will go out.
The gong goes off.
Well, I mean, I thought that this thing was possibly going to do that itself then for a moment in time. But yeah, did I miss Paul's actual prediction?
Sort of. I was basically just talking because I assumed you were about to talk about the Undisputed Championship that later got turned into the WWE Championship. And then we basically just got on to talking about that.
Yeah. So yeah, the reason why there is that potential is if for example it was Brock Lesnar, if it goes down Matt's prediction route, they have just released a Brock Lesnar specific undisputed title as well. So that maybe just to earn a few more of them dollar bills, but who knows? I don't know. It's a nice looking title. I mean, again, we all know that I could sit here and talk about title designs until the cows come home, but it is one of my favourite ones that they've ever had, and they probably used it for the shortest amount of time in comparison. So yeah, it could be a thing, but we shall find out.
But yes, just for the Bucks perspective, I did go for Roman Reigns.
Okay, lovely.
Also, if you sort of cast your minds back, the WWE Championship has changed hands for the last 4 pay-per-views. 3, maybe. Day 1, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber.
Well, one of the main titles has to this time, so we shall see. Okay, so that does round out our predictions. Hope you've enjoyed listening along with us, and obviously, as always, get involved. Send us your predictions in the comments. Send them via the Twitter, for Facebook, whatever you want to do. Get involved. And as we've mentioned, I will give it one more shout. If you haven't yet subscribed to the CookieCast YouTube channel, now is your time. At the top of the show, I mentioned that you could be the lucky winner of a brand new Alexa Bliss Funko Pop. We'd love to see you guys pressing that subscribe button, getting involved. And when we reach 100 subscribers on YouTube, we have 2 to give away. So that's not 1, 2. So at the time that the podcast is released, anybody that's an existing subscriber will get 2 chances. Anybody that subscribes between now and us hitting 100 will also get a chance to win one of these brand new Alexa Bliss Funko Pops. Now, obviously, if this goes nuts and we do hit 100 very quickly, then there may be a 3rd to give away as well. I may have that stashed. So we shall cross that bridge if indeed we come to it. So yeah, if this is your first time, your 42nd time, get involved, press that subscribe button, and we thank you very much for doing so. So all that remains is for me to say thank you to you guys, and thanks to everybody that's listened along. All right. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Bye. So there you go. What do you think to that? All the predictions are in. All the competition stuff's done. If you want to be in with a chance to win a Funko Pop, then get subscribing. What do you think is going to be the outcome of the 2 days of WrestleMania? Why don't you jump over to the website, which is cookiecast.com, use one of the functions, either social media or email, drop us a line and let us know. And I'm sure if you beat us in the predictions, there'll be a little prize in there for you. So, that's it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out part 1 if you haven't. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.